Objectives, right? So my vision for Knowledge Panel operations team is, and Knowledge Panel in general, is for it to be an accurate and efficient platform for data collection. Pretty good on the accuracy. Some folks yesterday even spoke about that. Pretty good operationally, but you're never accurate enough. You're never efficient enough. You can always do better in what you're trying to do. So that's going to be kind of the theme of what I talk about this morning is how can we improve our recruitment specifically? So that's one of the fun umbrellas that I get to play in over at Ipsos. So when I think about how I can improve knowledge panel recruitment, there's two real objectives or hopes really. So one, can I increase my recruitment yield? Can I get more people in from my materials? Or can I lower the cost of my recruitment? We send out several 100,000 packets a year. That's a whole lot. It's a lot of money. It's not cheap. So can I increase the yield, or can I make it less expensive? Or maybe I hit the jackpot and do both at the same time, right? So that's what we're going to talk about here this morning, and is how we can do that. So as far as methodology for recruitment, it's ABS, just like pretty much every other probability-based panel here. And there's a ton of literature out there by many of you here in the audience of what works. Should we include a cash pre-incentive? If so, how much? Is more better than others? Is it worth the cost of doing that? Should we have QR codes? What size envelope should we have? The list goes on and on, right? So there's a ton of existing literature and very helpful research that's been submitted by many of us here today. But how do we know what people feel when we do that? So let's say, yep, best practice, big 9x12 envelope, $2. Yep, that's the way to go. Ton of evidence. How do people feel when they get that dough? Like, does that really help them? Is that really a trigger for what makes them want to participate? So that's the real question that I'm trying to get into is how do people actually feel when they get our materials? And if we learn that, can we do something to improve it? How do we do that? Focus groups, right? So full disclosure, we're going to be talking about some in-depth interviews here, one-on-one stuff, not focus groups, but it's much easier to get an AI image for a focus group than a one-on-one. So, but yeah, this is generated by Ipsos Facto, our Gen AI platform that I'm going to get into here a little bit later on. So again, just to set the tone, many of us are experts here, right? We pretty much kind of know what we're doing. We wouldn't be here presenting and talking about this if we didn't have at least some degree of specialties in our field, right? But when you think about it, how many of your panels are overrepresented of white college graduates, right? We don't need more of those. We, as survey research experts, are typically not of the underrepresented groups that we need to get more of in our panel. So are we the best source to figure out how to do that? You know, I think I know what I'm doing. I think I know what a good design looks like. You know, I've read the literature for how to tailor things. But why not go straight to the source, right? Why not ask the actual people who are trying to recruit, hey, how do we get you into our panels? Like what works, right? So that's kind of what we did. So we set up some in-depth interviews. Now this isn't a perfect scenario. So these people that we talk to are already in knowledge panel. So it's not like we just, grab some folks off the street. But hey, when I talk about operational efficiency, we've got a captive audience, right? So it works. Why not go right to them? Yeah, we did pay him, $50, and the incentive were $50. So what we did is we just essentially sent something out to him and said, hey, we want you to, we want to make Knowledge Panel better. We love that you're part of it. Would you be willing to help us out? Take a look at some things. Let us know your thoughts. We'll pay you for your time. You in or you out. And yeah, people are into that kind of stuff. So what we did is we were doing this very targeted manner. So the talk this morning is going to be about panel members with high school or less education. How can I tailor my materials to get more people who have high school or less education, because we could always use more of them in our research panels and in our data. So what we did is we recruited them, they consented, they agreed to an interview that's recorded and transcripted and all that. And so what we did is we mailed them in a sealed package our current recruitment materials. So now the key was to get people who haven't already seen these, right? So we didn't want people who joined because of them. But we wanted to try to get a fresh outsider's perspective, which is why we did that part for it. So we gave them 4 different materials. A quick overview: 6x9 with visible $1 bill, 6x9 postcard, a small Terra open postcard, and then a number 10, which is like your standard window envelope. Mail that to them, said, hey, don't open this because we want to see you do it on screen. We want to see your reaction. We want to see the look on your face, and if you cringe or do any of that kind of stuff. So that's what we did. We conducted 5 in-depth interviews with people of high school or less education, various age, ethnicities, and mix of men and women. So we try to be, it's only 5 people, right? So you're not going to get a super representative group, but the whole idea is the high school or less is really that demographic that we're trying to drill down to. So of these 5 interviews that we did, 214 pages of transcripts were generated from 209 minutes of interviews. Now, I've got a fabulous panel support team that did all this for me. We wrote the script, gave them to them. They're the ones who did these. To be honest, for me to spend that much time to go through all that stuff, that's a lot, right? Fortunately, we've got this great tool at our hands at Ipsos called Ipsos Facto, which is our own proprietary Gen AI platform. So everything is internalized for that we can do for Ipsos. So we took the transcripts from those, put it all in together, and the export that I got was 2 pages of bullet point highlights of key stuff that people are looking at. So pretty amazing when you think about that, right? So here's just a quick snapshot. These are some actual export recommendations from Ipsos Facto based on the interview transcripts that we plugged into it. Now, I'm not going to read it all to you here. There's obviously one little part I've highlighted there for some foreshadowing for you all. But you can see here's just a quick example of some of the valuable feedback you can get if you're using these tools that are at our disposal. Now, the one thing that jumped out to us, every single person who looked at this, we had this new tear open, we call it a self mailer, but a tear open pull tab thing. Nobody could figure out how to open this thing. Blew my mind. I was totally shocked. And again, this is a perfect example of something to me is perfectly obvious, but to the people I'm trying to talk to, nope, no clue, right over their head. So what does that look like? So this right here is it's a scanned image of the actual mailer. Now, this is from our production house. So this is an unopened example of the back of this tear open thing. So there's no, I don't know if there's a laser pointer on here, but you can see kind of that there is perforations. It's perforated along the sides. There's a circle at the bottom that says open here. So again, when I have this, when we designed this, when we looked at it, it was pretty clear to us where and how to open this. No, apparently not, right? So it's like, okay, what are we going to do? So we went to our UX experts at Ipsos. We've got a whole ton of guys and girls who focus on specifically material design, user experience type of stuff. So I said, hey, here's a problem I got. Here's the thing. Here's the feedback. WTF, right? How do I fix this? Tell me what to do here because I'm lost. I don't have a clue. And the answer was this. So same exact pictures, same exact wording in the middle there. However, different design cues. So there's a gradient shading of blue at the bottom that kind of goes up in the top. Those white dotted lines are printed to go along the perforations to make it, again, a whole lot more obvious. The open here is in yellow instead of the knowledge panel theme colors before. And then we added the 2 arrows pointing lift up the pull tab, right? So again, beat them over the head with how obvious it was. But this is a perfect example. I never would have thought of this. Like I never would have thought to do that. But it's also me taking a step back and saying, okay, what makes sense to me may not make sense to the people I'm trying to get. So what's the deal with that? These little changes at the time I pulled this data had a 0.5 percentage point, not a 0.5% increase, a 0.5 percentage point increase just by those little design tweaks. And to give you an idea, that's about a 16% increase because we're talking like 3.1 to 3.6%. So that's a pretty big jump that cost me a couple $100 in incentives to do this. And when you think of all the recruitment mailings you do with the cost of postage and all that, if you scale up a 0.5 percentage point increase in your yield times several $100s, I just hit the jackpot, right? That's a whole bunch of money we just saved from Knowledge Panel. So again, it took about 3.5 hours of transcript videos, and it took it down into less than a 10-minute read for me. So it's like, talk about efficiency. Talk about taking a massive amount of information instead of being overwhelming. We've got Gen AI at our hands that we can make it actually helpful. The other sweet part about that is for us at Ipsos, this is a proprietary platform. So I don't have PII concerns. I don't have to worry about if somebody had their name or their email or whatever in there. that's okay because it's all internalized and I'm not using that to feed into other open source models because it's all staying within house. So the privacy concerns are mitigated there. And if there's one thing I want you all to take away from this, it's really just we are experts in our field, but we might not know exactly everything we think we do. And we should be talking to the people and getting their feedback to incorporate them into our research. Thank you.